Once in a generation, an event happens that captures the imagination of the entire world. The stories of J.R.R. Tolkien are introduced in new and exciting ways. For over 20 years, the OneRing.net has championed the fan experience. And tonight, fans worldwide come together as Prime Video introduces us to their own take on the Middle-earth legendarium. Ladies and gentlemen, boffins and brace girdles, elves and Ainur, welcome to the Second Age.
I don't know why Cliff just walked away. I don't know why my mic was on. Why did everything stop working as soon as we clicked on it? Why did it say trailer watch party? Because it's not a trailer watch party. That was a video that was not supposed to be. Why is everything not working? Hello, everybody. It's Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things jiggery pokery. I'm. That was the opening of the show to our epic Amazon watch party. By the way, I singed all the hair off of my knuckles shooting that in high frame rate. I lost the ring. I have not found the ring since we left there. It's not in my pockets. Wait, is it? No, it's not in my pockets. So I've lost the ring. We shot that especially for the show, and now I can't find it. No sound for you. Okay. Yeah, I was given the burden of that ring. Let me see desktop audio. Why? Let me see if this works. All right. How about now?
Okay, is it better now?
Okay.
Better sounding now, maybe?
Why did it just go black? Oh my gosh, this is a
I don't know
nightmare. I don't
why.
know what happened. Cliff, you
Oh,
jumped on. The
are we
Zoom wasn't
having
working.
a
The
Mercury
air
retrograde or something? What is happening?
Mercury retrograde must be
Don't even
it.
know. Well, I
So
guess I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay,
So
there we go.
everything has
Works now.
just gone wrong. I hope Amazon has taken the week off from watching this episode because everything has just totally gone wrong. We're usually a
It's
little bit
working
more
now.
put together than this.
Well,
Cliff,
evidently we can hear each other now, and I'm so glad to see you, Justin. Thank you for helping us co-host the show. And what is it? What is front of mind for you today, Mr. Justin? Tell me.
well, I just this is just a general chat, question and answer show. I've got a bunch of stuff that happened over the week, so we'll go through the news in a little bit. But Cliff, I wanted to ask you. People in the chat room are calling you Clifford, Quickbeam Broadway,
Mm-hmm.
Quickbeam 2000,
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Broadway. I
Mm-hmm.
call you Cliff. I call you friend.
Yeah,
What
buddy.
is what do you prefer being addressed as? I guess I've never asked you that.
Thank you for that courtesy. That's very nice of you. Actually, to be quite honest, I go by two syllables, the full name, Clifford. And that's me. That's my dad's name, and it was my grandfather's name. So somehow I got stuck with it. you know, it's my name. So I'm okay with Cliff, but usually Clifford is better because that's how I introduce myself to people. It's fine. It's fine. But I want to keep in mind, for those of us who have been with us at the OneRing.net for 20 years or more, they know that all the writers, the editors, and the contributors at the web community have always used a nickname. And that nickname was usually derived from Tolkien or from other fantasy sci-fi sources. And so I used Quickbeam as my avatar slash online nick for a very, very, very long time. So there you go. That's me.
And
Well,
Varking, the mod and co-creator of our Discord, which you can join at the link in the description. We're up closing in on 2,000 members. He has created a emoji of your cat, and if you go into our Discord and put Cliff Cat, Cliff Cat is the magic word to
really?
to see
But
Cliff's cat
his
as
name
an
is his
icon.
name is Mithrandir. He is named
I could
Mithrandir.
not spell that right if I wanted to.
Cliff Cat. I love that. I'm
Well,
really, really glad that
Cliff,
Varking did that.
I've got a
That's
bunch
cool.
of news to go through today, but
Great. Great.
Varking opened the show with a comment. Someone said, "What are we talking about today?" And Varking rudely interrupted and said, "Today's topics are poetry on Prime, a dwarvish poem written to Amazon about dwarves on the show." And his second topic of the day, my girlfriend didn't mind me buy one silly thing off eBay, but two silly Lord of the Rings things. Will Varking be in trouble? And number three, why is Cliff such a dope narrator?
That's kind of awesome. I would love to be the dope narrator who narrates everything. That would be my ultimate dream job, just to narrate all the
Wait,
good all the good sci-fi shows and the good movies. I would love to be the narrator of that. That'd be my dream come true.
we are
That'd be
joined in the
so awesome.
chat by Demosthenes.
Hey, Demosthenes. Say it with me now. Demosthenes. He is
Demosthenes.
That's it. He is fantastic. One of our best people.
It
They're
sounds
volun-
Greek.
He's been volunteering with us at theonering.net forever and ever. Amen. But you know what's funny? In the live chat on YouTube, it was Dan Bites, who said, "You've probably heard every Clifford the Big Red Dog joke that's ever been made." And the truth of the matter is, when I introduce myself to people for the first time, I actually say, "Hi, good to meet you. I'm Clifford the Big Red Dog." I say it all the time. They laugh, they look at me, and they're like, "Oh," and you know what? They never forget my name. They never forget.
So
And
you
it's a
must be
funny thing.
living your dream, but that you got a big budget featured film, Clifford the Big Red Dog.
And you know what? Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was my movie that I didn't even see. But yeah,
Oh, you
that was
didn't
my
even see
movie that
it.
I didn't even see.
Well, speaking of
Totally
movies,
different.
you should have seen. We ended the show last week with me going to the Batman.
Did we talk about the Batman yet today? Because I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about Matt Reeves working at the highest end possible for a director with Andy Serkis in all those Planet of the Apes movies. All right, before we talk about the Batman, I want everybody in this chat to be like, wait a minute, that's the same Matt Reeves? And you've got to remember the rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. All of them. Those three movies are a fantastic, ultra excellent, well-made movie trilogy with that intellectual property, and it is emotionally powerful. I am still devastated when I think about Caesar, the way that Caesar was played by Andy Serkis with such dignity. It was such an amazing trilogy of films. Now, Matt Reeves and our boy Andy Serkis are back again, and now they're in Gotham City, and it is so emotional, viscerally strong. The production design is off the chain. I'm telling you, it's like Blade Runner level of production design, where everything is saturated and wet and rusty and dark, and there's a physical density that Christopher Nolan did not have in his Gotham City. There's some other kind of density and constant wet and rain all over this Gotham City, and it's a triumph of production design. And don't even get me started on how good Andy Serkis and Robert Pattinson are together as Pennyworth, Alfred Pennyworth and Bruce Wayne. Just fantastic stuff. Really good stuff. Okay, what about your thoughts, Justin? What did you think of it?
I feel like Siskel right now. Well, I enjoyed it too.
Okay,
It had
okay.
its issues, including a 3 hour runtime. But this movie is grounded in reality. It is a modern take on Gotham. It is set in our modern world using modern technology, maybe the extra level of our modern technology. It deals with, it touches upon a lot of the issues that we're talking about now, which is
Mm-hmm.
the disparity of wealth, and
Mm-hmm.
where does value to your city and loyalty to your city come in.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in power vacuums when one person goes and another one takes over. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing I will say about this,
Yeah.
uh, it kept me wide awake for the entire 3 hours, and I saw the midnight show after
Mm-hmm.
Torn Tuesday last week.
Wow. No, I had no problem with the 2 hours and 47 minutes because I'm used to Peter Jackson movies
Well,
and
that was my next thing. Is that as Lord of the Rings fans, we are not allowed to ever complain about a movie's length
no problem with that.
ever
No
in
problem.
all time. We have
I'm telling you,
forfeited that card.
what
Not
about
one person
look,
here
look,
can
look at what
complain.
look at what Warner Brothers is doing. Okay, Warner Brothers is giving Denis Villeneuve the chance to make Dune as long as all the Harry Potter movies were, as long as all the Hobbit trilogy movies. Warner Brothers is not really shy as a studio. It seems that they have not interfered with the filmmakers, and we're talking Matt Reeves, Peter Jackson, Chris Nolan. Obviously, Chris Nolan releasing his films through Warner Brothers, and everybody look at the running time. Warner Brothers is not shy about every big IP, a big fantasy, sci-fi, or comic book
And letting
IP,
them do whatever they want.
and let
And
them go for the full 3 hours. And you know what? I think that the standard was set 21 years ago by Peter Jackson and the Fellowship of the Ring, where that brought blockbuster movie making to a space where it could be opera or operatic
well, that
in
was New
length.
Line Cinema, and Michael Lynn
Yeah,
the
yeah,
guys at New Line
yeah. You're right.
totally
You're right.
trusted Mark
You're right.
Ordesky. Famously or
But at
infamously,
the exact
Warner
same
Brothers
time,
did not trust their directors. They did not trust Peter Jackson, and they forced him to do a love triangle with Toriel. And then we don't have to go into the whole Snyder
well,
Cut
yeah,
fiasco.
yeah. That's
Warner
right. That's
Brothers
right.
was not a friend to filmmakers for a decade. And so
That's true.
between Dune and the Batman, you get a feel that there are new people in charge and they trust their filmmakers.
Well, they let David Yates and J.K. Rowling do a lot of 2 hour and a half or 2 hours and 40 minutes Harry Potter movies and Fantastic Beasts movies. So I'm just saying that with Matt Reeves, David Yates, and Peter Jackson and Denis Villeneuve, I get a feeling that Warner Brothers is really letting them do what the hell they want with running time being long, and I'm fine with it. The Batman did not feel like a 3 hour movie to me. It did not.
It did not.
It did not.
It is so well paced. It
Yeah.
is and it's constant. And then halfway through, the car chase happens, and oh boy, I needed a cigarette after that scene. I got to be honest. That
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was something. But my final thought and
Yeah.
my final point on the Batman, is there is a full screen credit near the end of the credits for Andrew Jack, vocal coach Andrew Jack. He was, of course, the vocal linguistic expert for the
Hmm.
entire cast of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Here he is working with Sir Christopher Lee. Cliff, can you talk about just how? I mean, Christopher met Tolkien. Rumors are Christopher Lee is an inspiration for James Bond. Christopher told Peter Jackson how a man sounds when he dies with a knife in his back. What kind of strength and power does Andrew Jack have over the spoken language that he is teaching Christopher Lee things?
Yes, that was an amazing moment. And may Andrew rest in peace. But his work was so phenomenal that he helped, you know, Sean Astin. He helped Sean Astin get away from Southern California accent to being, West Midlands accent for Samwise. He helped Christopher Lee get to a point where there was no misunderstandings about pronunciations of Tolkien's words and the history of some of these words, because Saruman, obviously as a character, is referencing Elvish words and adjunaic words, and all kinds of things, even dwarvish references in a lot of Saruman's dialogue. I mean, he has to talk about lots of different aspects of Middle Earth. So, Andrew Jack was the best. He was the very, very best at that game as a dialect coach.
And
It's
he was
amazing.
so well respected across the industry. He had worked on the Star Wars movies, the James Bond franchise, obviously, and he was literally working on The Batman when COVID struck. And we reported on it in March of 2020. But one of the first Hollywood people that died from COVID was Andrew Jack. He was literally on set in the UK doing the Batman with Robert Pattinson, helping Robert Pattinson sound less like a vampire and more like vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
That is all Andrew Jack, and he
Yeah.
unfortunately succumbed. There was a huge lament across the industry, and it
Yes.
basically Andrew Jack's death from
Yes.
COVID was the wake-up call to the entire Hollywood ecosystem, entertainment industry, to shut it all down, guys. No joke, shut it all down. This is for real. We don't want to lose any more people of the caliber of Andrew Jack. His death was literally the wake-up call. And I remember talking with a lot of people at the time in March 2020 when things started shutting down. And everyone was like, oh my God, are we really? And it's like, yeah. So Andrew Jack is survived by his wife, who herself is an accomplished linguistic coach. And Cliff, we have confirmed that his widow was on Amazon's Lord of the Rings. She was locked in New Zealand when he died.
Wow, that's great. That's great that she was, I mean that's great that she was there to be with him.
No, backwards.
Are you
she was locked in New Zealand. He was on set for the Batman in the UK.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the statement you were making. Wow, that's awful. That's really awful.
So, one of the reasons Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films were so good is because of Andrew Jack. Amazon probably did their best to try to hire him, but they hired the second best, his wife, and he had booked on the Batman, and there you go. I don't know if she resumed her duties on Lord of the Rings after she went back and handled his affairs, did everything you're supposed to do as a spouse. So basically Andrew Jack. We have a family connection to Amazon's Lord of the Rings, which was only a positive. It was a really good sign that Amazon was doing this very well at the top of their game. Yes. So big loss. Cliff, can you also describe how special a full screen credit in the scrolling credits is? It's pretty rare, isn't it?
There was a single title card credit for Andrew Jack?
Yes.
I didn't see that. And that is incredibly rare for a dialect coach. Do you know what? I was I must have missed something. I was probably looking for other names in the credits and looking at something else. Maybe I got on my phone at that moment. I'm really sorry, but wow, that is really significant. To give you some perspective, when you see a bunch of stupid names of executive producers on a film, and there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and they appear in groups of 3 or groups of 4, and they disappear. And a couple of seconds later, another screen comes up with co-producers and more executive producers, and there's different names, and they're grouped together in a group of 2 or 3 or 4 people. That is the result of months and months of angry negotiations between entertainment lawyers and managers.
It's very hard to get a solo credit screen.
People do very, very little on a film, and yet still the executive producers, who do almost nothing except put money on the line, but that's something. But they don't physically get involved in the production, but they fight tooth and nail to have their name at the top, or to have their name separated as a single title card. It is a matter of incredible prestige, and it only comes after months of ugly negotiations and fighting with the studio to where your name is going to be on what credit. And now, the fact that you said this to me makes me feel like I missed out entirely. And if I'd been sitting there and paying attention, I would have seen Andrew Jack by himself in a single title card, and I would have said, "Holy sugar!" I would have been so surprised. And I'm
I
glad you
freaked.
mentioned. I'm
Like
glad you mentioned it.
we stayed through the credits because there's a little thing at the end of the credits of the Batman, and as we're going through the credits, we get to near the end, and there is a full screen. His name is alone as it scrolls up in its own, all this buffer space and dedicated to the memory of Andrew Jack.
Yep.
And I'm just like,
Yep.
This guy was so important and so beloved. They do
Yeah.
not hand this out to anybody. Like, that's how important Andrew
Yeah.
Jack was, and what a
When-
huge loss he was.
There's a difference. There's a difference between single title card, and that's when all the names disappear, and then one new title appears by itself, and then it disappears. You were talking about the scroll, the end credit scroll. Well, you're right to mention this. The equivalent of that is when they separate all the space, so much space, so that when Andrew Jack's name appears, it is by itself for that moment when it hits the geographic center of the screen, and that buffer space continues to move as the scroll goes up. That's really surprising that they did that. And
Yeah, incredible.
that's
So
really cool.
if you haven't
Really
seen
cool.
it, stay through the end of the credits. Take a photo of it. I'm giving you warning. It's near the end of the credits. Take a photo of the screen and tag us in the photo because we'd love to see it. I couldn't get my phone out in time. In fact, I was fumbling with my phone trying to open the camera app that I missed it, but I had my camera open, so I did get to see the end credits thing. And according to the internet, there isn't. Some websites are saying there isn't. There is, folks. Dr. Nosy, I know you might have messed up. You might have to go see it again. If you stay to the end credits, there's a little. It's like a Matrix thing. It feels like it's from the Riddler. But have your video camera open and take video because there's a link to a website.
Subliminal. It's a subliminal thing. It's there so quick, it's gone.
It's so quick. It's just a blip.
Yeah.
But if you have your phone open, you might get the link, and they're actually updating this secret website every week with new hidden features that are building up to the HBO Max spin-off series about the Penguin and Arkham. So there's two spin-off series in production right now with Matt Reeves and Colin Farrell. And so I think that this end credits link to this website is part of the marketing leading up to the show. Anyway, that's enough of the Batman.
Are you ready to let's take a quick look at the curriculum vitae of the late great Andrew Jack? Okay.
Yes.
He worked on Avengers Endgame, dialect coach for Mr. Hemsworth. He was the dialect coach for
Thor himself.
Yes. Okay. He was the voice coach and dialect coach on Solo, a Star Wars story. And he was, again, dialect coach for Mr. Hemsworth on Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, he's been in everything. Bond,
Thor,
Star Wars.
Ragnarok, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rogue One, The Force Awakens, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Wow.
Great movie.
Hercules. That what was
With
that?
The Rock?
Yeah, what was that? My God, that was the 2014 Hercules that starred Dwayne Johnson. My God, I forgot all about that. Oh, most recently, people know his work on Peaky Blinders. He was dialect coach.
Peaky Blinders.
On Peaky Blinders with Cillian Murphy. Of course, Cillian Murphy, everybody knows him. And he was on...
I want him to be Anatar. Folks,
he was
Amazon, if you're
dialect
watching,
coach
Cillian Murphy for Anatar, thank you very much.
Okay, Snow White and the Huntsman, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, oh, that's got Sala Baker in it, in that, okay? And Captain America, the First Avenger, not to mention other Sherlock Holmes movies
Yeah, he's been
and
this
everything,
was like
everything.
for
Wow.
A-list Hollywood. He was it, and he helped.
Whoa, he worked with Chris Nolan as dialect coach on Batman Begins way back in
Yeah,
2005.
I'm telling you,
Wow. Wow.
Galaxy.
Okay.
You guys that like that Anatar casting, that fan casting right there, I do
That's
too. I do too.
I think Killian Murphy would be a pretty wild, a pretty freaking wild choice to play Anatar Sauron.
Yep, and this is the last season of Peaky Blinders, and he's got some time on his hands now. I'm just saying.
Funny, funny.
I'm just saying. Other news, Cliff. Other news. Big news. Congratulations to Peter Jackson and his production team. They won Best Edited Documentary for the Beatles Get Back. Peter's back, baby. Peter Jackson.
Yes.
Is he nominated for any Oscars this year? Because Get Back has just won Best Edited Documentary.
I loved that documentary. It was really a fantastic experience, but there are no Oscar nominations for Peter. None at all. Not this year.
Wait, it wouldn't be Oscars because they released it direct to Disney Plus, so it would be an Emmy Award.
Well, if they had done any theatrical release to qualify, a qualifying run would have been run the movie in a theater for 1 week in certain large market
Well,
cities.
they have been running
that.
the last hour in IMAX cinemas over the last month or so.
Yeah.
You can watch the full rooftop concert edited by Jabez Olsen and Peter Jackson in IMAX cinemas. Now, Cliff, editing a documentary, famously, there was hundreds of hours of footage that Peter knocked down to 2 hours originally, then expanded it to 9 hours with the help of obviously this guy. Cliff, you made a documentary. How hard is it to edit a documentary?
Oh boy, because there's an unprecedented level of difficulty in putting the editing spin on your documentary, because even though you've written a lot of material, you may have written material for your narrator, and you have written down ideas about how presentation of information is going to flow. Doesn't matter what you've written. When it comes to a real documentary, you're gonna do the writing in the editing room with your editor, because that's where everything really, really happens in putting documentary information together. By making certain editing choices, you're going to make your point more clear or make your point more befuddled. You have critical choices every time in how much of an interview you're going to show and what parts of the interview you are not going to keep because it's not relevant to the editorial drive of what you're trying to say in that segment. It is a writing process in the editing room with anybody. And I know Peter will probably tell you, if he were sitting here, he'd say it's a very, very different game doing a feature, a narrative feature versus a docu, for sure.
Absolutely. And Peter is a fan of both. I mean, I really think we got the appendices because Peter loves documentary and he knows the value of documenting everything. And I will say, when it comes to editing, Two Towers is one of the best edited franchise films any franchise film, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. I think Two Towers is the best edited multi-story franchise film. You have three main storylines. You have the Fellowship is broken. You've got Frodo and Sam on their storyline. They meet up with Gollum. You've got Merry and Pip and the trees. And you've got Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli saving the world. And by the way, Two Towers doubles the amount of characters that we're introduced to. We had never met anybody from Rohan and nobody from Gondor, basically, in Fellowship. So Two Towers had a challenge of telling three different storylines without anyone getting lost in that, and introducing double the cast. I'm telling you, Two Towers was a triumph of editing.
At one point, it was necessary to bring out a map of Middle-earth So we have that brief scene with Faramir and his lieutenant looking over a map and having a conversation between them, which is really exposition for the audience to understand where these different storylines have split. It's really important that that happens in the film. And a lot of reviews, do you remember reading all the reviews for The Two Towers when they came out? You would pick up every newspaper you could, or any online version of every newspaper across the world, to try to get, what they felt like, what the film critics were thinking in response. And universally, a lot of the, in print, I read this over and over again in many reviews of The Two Towers. They often said, thank God, at one point, Peter Jackson has the wisdom to pull out a map. They literally said that over and over again. And the Two Towers benefits from that very geeky, nerdy moment where, as readers, we're reading the book and we're constantly, always looking at the maps in the back, or even getting supplemental volumes like the Atlas of Middle-earth to help make it more clear what we're reading. So Peter did it. It's, Tolkien did it in the back of the book, of course, with those maps. So yeah, The Two Towers succeeds in many, many, many levels with the editing and the very smart choices they made to juggle a lot of plates. There was a lot of spinning plates on that stage, and Peter Jackson was cutting back and
it
forth
was
and back
so
and forth.
difficult.
Yeah,
That movie was so difficult to edit that the editor on that film, the credited editor on Two Towers, left the biz and never worked on a movie again. He said it was so. He quit the biz.
Whoa.
He stopped working. I think he did a couple independent films with his friends, but that was it. It was so stressful and so taxing and overworked. He's just like, I'm not cut out for this. And unfortunately, I think that's a loss to the industry because he was great. Now, moving on, Cliff.
Wow.
Speaking of Two Towers and Peter Jackson's original trilogy, I was shocked to find this. I was watching the Colin Farrell First We Feast Hot Ones episode. Colin Farrell's talking about all these wonderful stories working with Terrence Malick and everything like that. But then the YouTube algorithm just started autoplaying an episode with Nick Offerman, like from Parks and Rec. Nick Offerman, like alpha male. Yeah. Well, check this video out, folks. Cliff, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but check this out. Nick Offerman.
Sure.
Ago, I had a Baywatch air freshener hanging from my rearview mirror because I told all my friends I'm going to drive west until I get to this goddamn thing.
It's like putting a motivational quote on the mirror or something.
It really was. And I was auditioning for something and the casting director also cast Baywatch. Somehow the storyline ended up on the Gulf Coast and there were some like scary hillbillies or something. She was like, oh, we actually, normally I wouldn't think twice looking at you for Baywatch, but we do have some scary rednecks coming up. And so I did get to audition for it, to no avail. Lord of the Rings, I was much more forceful. I sent letters to Peter Jackson, and I wrote all these letters because I really wanted to play Samwise Gamgee. To me, that's the best part in those books. Peter, I did not respond to my letters. To this day, he's not written me back, and don't think I'm not bearing a grudge. But I did eventually, through the normal channels, I made it to where they called me in the huge group to put me on tape, reading for the role of Gimli the Dwarf. Spoiler alert.
He didn't get it. Spoiler alert, he didn't get it. Folks, can we appreciate, oh my God, he would have been a great Samwise with a different cast. He would have been a great Samwise. He would have been a really, really great Gimli. Nick Offerman now has salt and pepper beard. He has a
He does.
reputation for alpha tendencies. I'm telling you, Amazon, if you're watching, Nick Offerman needs to be a king of a dwarven peoples. Please. He might not. He doesn't have to be Durin. I think you've already cast Durin, but there are 7 rings to give to the dwarves, and Nick Offerman deserves a ring of power. Cliff, what do you think?
Sure, why not? Why not? If he's that hardcore, like a Tolkien fan, if he's really that much of a ringer, then yeah, sure, he could probably do some amazing stuff. I mean, on the other hand, you have the most amazing comedic actor in Billy Connolly, but Billy Connolly has spent years making fun of the Tolkien fan phenomenon. He doesn't get it, and he admitted in the past that he didn't get it. Rest his soul. But that's okay. You know, sometimes you get interesting results when you bring an actor or an actress into the project who is deeply familiar and really in that, you know, dyed in the wool kind of fan energy. That's
Cliff,
that's something
Taylor in the chat.
Christopher Lee did succeed in bringing that energy to Saruman. He did.
Well, Cliff, Taylor in the chat room says, can you picture Nick Offerman here as Ar-Pharazôn?
Sure, I could.
Could you picture him as Narvi, the smith that forges Narsil?
Yes, that'd be cool. Oh, that would be such a cool role for him. Yes, that sounds really cool. I like that idea a lot.
Do you think we keep talking about how, like, we don't necessarily want star power, but maybe we do want some recognizable star power. Can you get lost in a character played by Nick Offerman, or would he have to be like a day guy, a walk-on role where he's like finishing a boat of Numenor on the docks, like he's
right.
just like a bit player for a day? Do you think
I have to correct my record. I have to really correct this. I'm sorry. Billy Connolly and the rumors of his demise are very premature.
He's still alive. Yeah, he's still kicking. He just can't remember anything.
Thank you to the people in the chat who are helping me to check my head at the door. Yes, I am terribly ghoulish, and I feel very bad right now.
Ghoulish?
I feel very bad right now. Rumors of Billy Connolly's departure from this mortal coil are very premature, and I do apologize to everyone about that. But you know, I'm glad the big yin is still with us. I'm glad.
Yes. Hey, Cliff, our friend Joanna Robinson, friend of the show, Joanna Robinson, tweeted this comment with these photos, saying these 2 things are the same degree of disappointing, and the girls who know. I'm not a girl. I do not know, so I don't know. But we have a lot of wonderful people in our chat room. I was wondering if someone in the chat room can explain what was disappointing about King Elisar versus Aragorn. Why? And I've heard this at conventions in the before times. I've heard this for 20 years now at conventions. How Elisar, the king version of the Ranger, was disappointing. And so here's Joanna Robinson, who's seen the 3 episodes, obviously a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, friend of the show. Is she right about this? Monica says, I'm a girl and she is entitled to her own opinion. Aravandi says, she's saying that grubby Aragorn is sexier than clean Aragorn.
Oh, okay. And is she also saying that transformed, magically enchanted beast is more sexy than the returned to his true form prince? Is that what? Okay, sure.
I think that's okay. What I think. I think there's a certain amount of fandom.
Do you know what? Jeez, this has never occurred to me. I'm sorry. I've been a big fan of Aragorn, and watching Viggo Mortensen make his transformation from Strider to Aragorn and ultimately to King Elisar is a wonderful, wonderful thing for me. But I never thought about it in those terms. But okay.
I
Okay.
get what I
Okay.
understand what she's saying. My personal feeling was Vigo did not pull off the cleaned up king as well as he pulled off the ranger and the Aragorn character. Like it doesn't work. And I don't know if it was a bad wig. I don't know if a lot of his king stuff was shot in reshoots, and I don't know if it's the fuller beard. But King Aragorn, Vigo did not pull off the kingly Aragorn. I personally just wasn't vibing.
With the
Yeah.
King Elisar? Okay, whatever. Okay,
By the
fine.
way, Cliff, there's
Fine.
been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk over the last 2 months, of course, about respecting the lore and hair. And according to a lot of stuff I've been reading, Tolkien said that Aragorn shouldn't have a beard.
Yeah, that Boromir and Aragorn did not have beards. Yeah, he had his own ideas about whether, Legolas had raven black hair or blonde hair. And over many decades of Tolkien illustrations and painters, you'll find a lot of variants. Some painters will give Legolas black hair as black as ink, and sometimes it's blonde, like even Ralph Bakshi and Peter Jackson gave us Legolas as a blonde when Tolkien doesn't exactly say that. He doesn't say that. So, there's room for interpretation.
So this is taking the literal hero of the third movie, The Return of the King. It's literally titled about this dude, and Peter Jackson gets it so wrong that he gives him a bigger beard. What type of respecting the lore is that? That seems disgraceful to, like, while he's in the middle of battle and stuff. Like, I understand that he hasn't shaven for a couple days and got a light stubble going on in the Fellowship in the Two Towers because he's a ranger and he's just out in the outback doing his thing. But when he's like cleaned up and he's taking a shower, he should be clean shaven. I want to see a king without a beard. That face should be buttery smooth, and it would have been truer to Tolkien and might have solved some of these issues that some people are having with Elisar being too clean.
Too clean? Oh, come on. All right, I'm looking at this picture now. I'm pulling up this picture that she tweeted. All right, and she got almost 30,000 likes on this tweet.
Yeah.
30,000.
Look how popular it is.
And I'm like, he got his hair washed. He washed his face. He washed his hair. And obviously, there's been a couple of months that have gone by since the end of the destruction of Barad-dûr and the end of the War of the Ring. So he's got more of a beard. So, okay, all right. 30,000 likes. I just don't.
So, so do you agree? Do you agree with the thesis that Aragorn, King Elisar, was not as successfully portrayed?
Is the word you're looking for underwhelming?
Maybe.
I never thought of Vigo as King Elisar as underwhelming. I never did. Because there's another moment where Liv Tyler is having a foresight, and she's having a vision of the future in the woods, and she sees her future husband as King Elisar holding their son, their child. And that's another moment where he was King Elisar in that vision. And if you stop to think about it, that was super cool. I got no problems with him being King Elisar, and he's a dad, and he loves his son. And then 2 seconds later, she's weeping over his sarcophagus. She's weeping because she, I'm all about that. Looking at, what would have been interesting? one of the coolest things in the books is when the king comes up to the Shire, but he does not enter the borders of the Shire. He doesn't enter the borders. And in the book, there's this stuff about him granting the hobbits and all the halflings to have their own autonomy, in the Shire, and that other men of Gondor and other kingdoms would not interfere and would not mess with them. And I just think that was a moment that would have been so cool to have in the films, but we never had that.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that was part of the Scouring of the Shire.
After it was, I think after.
And it's and I believe, and I have to believe that was inspired by Tolkien's military service, because at least here in the States, anyone that's like a general or above, I guess general is the top, but there's multiple generals. You have to announce that you're coming to a base in advance, because according to the rules, if a general just shows up to any military base in the country, even to just have lunch at the commissary, the rules are that the ranking officer on base is in control. So if there's a lieutenant colonel scheduled to be like, the manager of the base that day, but then a general shows up for lunch, well, the chain of command has immediately changed, and nobody wants that drama. And so I appreciate putting that level of military knowledge, probably from his service in World War One, and Aragorn recognizing that, Elisar recognizing that, and say, hey, if I walked onto your lands, it changes the power structure. That's fascinating.
I very much appreciate that in the book, and it would have been so cool to see that in the movie. But only because in the movie, Peter Jackson only gives us one real thing with King Elisar. It's just a coronation sequence. That's all we get. We don't get to see any of the other decisions that he makes, and the effort that he makes to rebuild Gondor and to repair relations with
there's a whole bunch of stuff. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that Amazon has the rights to, and if they wanted to do a spin-off of post-war Gondor, it is Amazon's rights to do a TV series about that. And wouldn't that be interesting? And I hear Vigo directs now, and writes, and composes, and stars.
Yes, he does.
Cliff, who jumped in the chat room? Demosthenes is back, and that's funny. I was just about to talk about Demos, because he posted this article. Did you see the article on the OneRing.net called "Art or Cash"? Cliff, it's a fascinating look. Demosthenes has found an old letter from J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, Stanley Unwin was his publisher. So Tolkien is talking about his publisher. And he says, Stanley and I have agreed on our policy. Art or cash.
Yes, that's right.
Either very profitable terms indeed for me and my family, or absolute author's veto on objectionable features or alterations.
Yep.
Now, Cliff, this kind of puts in perspective, Tolkien was a businessman as much as anybody else.
Indeed, yes. He was. A pretty interesting concept, because as an Oxford professor, he never really thought that his works and his books would end up putting him in such a weird position to negotiate sales to Hollywood and to screenwriters, and to have his books become what we now call an IP, an intellectual property.
I mean, he knew from the first day. Like, he knew.
No, I would not imagine that he knew from the first day that he was inventing languages and creating stories of the First Age, that there would ever be such decisions about,
come on. I can't
imagine. I can't imagine he would think that.
I don't know, man.
How? Because his interest was in languages. He was a philologist. It was a private amusement. And then all of a sudden, his constructed languages took on a life of their own because his literary mind could not be contained. He was, and he always was brilliant, always was brilliant about incorporating that other part of his mind, which was linguistic studies and, expanding his mind through languages and constructs of languages and history and what all the meanings are behind everything. And he took that passion and put it into, lo and behold, a skill set of writing and creating stories which are quite powerful and capture the essence of this secondary world, which is quite as spoken in the eternal words of Christopher Tolkien, who you may have seen in that BBC documentary where they interview him back in the late 70s, early 80s. He speaks very clearly, Christopher Tolkien, about the amazing quality of his father's mind, not resting in one place of intellectual discernment and intellectual interest, but moving into other areas. Let us also mention what an amazing watercolor painter and illustrator Tolkien was, in addition to a cartographer, creating maps to go with his constructed languages, and then working out the times and the phases of the moon and the sun, so that his secondary world would have a believable cosmic calendar. The man was brilliant, okay?
And I will add to that list a brilliant businessman and a brilliant mind to come up with the concept along with his publisher of selling his book parts of his book over 3 years, addressing in combination with the paper shortage. He did have a fight about it, but he could have not published it, and he could have just waited it out until paper came back into stock. Like, he had already waited 20 years then. What's another 10 years until, they can publish the whole thing? I'm telling you, he was a strong business mind. As much as you want to celebrate his cartography and his history and his everything else, equally, he had a mind for business. He had a mind for taxes. He knew that he had something of value that would take care of the inheritance tax that would have burdened his children, and that's why he sold the film rights. So that's what like this comment is very much in line with Tolkien. Letter 202, art or cash.
I'm right here with Otaku Senpai in the YouTube chat, who says, I doubt that Tolkien ever expected to be offered enough money to relinquish authorial control.
Well, this quote disproves your statement right there, Otaku. This quote right here disproves that statement.
It is there. It's obviously there. But what I'm just saying, along with Otaku Senpai, we're saying that it was a late development. It was probably not originally in his mind when he was writing The Hobbit.
I disagree, because
The Hobbit and writing the sequel to The Hobbit and trying to get the publisher to pick up the Silmarillion and getting turned down. He probably was not thinking about, oh my gosh, someone's going to give me movie rights.
He was well aware. Look, one of the reasons he didn't like Walt Disney is because Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out 90 days after his Dwarven tale in The Hobbit. And remember, The Hobbit was a best-selling book in Germany, in the U.S., all over the world. In fact,
in many countries. Yes.
And then he encouraged his best friend, C.S. Lewis, to publish a Narnia book, and not just one Narnia book. Keep pumping them out. And they used to have, they were in friendly competition with sales numbers. There are records of C.S. Lewis comparing book sales numbers. Okay. And I believe there's some documentary mentions that Tolkien was like, Lewis made so much money off of his 7 books, and they're half as good as what I'm writing now. Wait till they get a load of me.
Okay. Laying down the gauntlet now.
So all I'm saying is, I believe in my heart of hearts, Tolkien knew what Walt Disney was doing with fantasy. And then Wizard of Oz was a couple years away. right? Like, Tolkien saw that these things were being turned into. I have no doubt 20 years later, and the movie industry is in full swing, that before The Lord of the Rings is even published, he knew that Hollywood would come calling. He knew. So this was top of mind. And
Well,
so
I will let you enjoy that. That is quite a colorful idea. I will let you enjoy that, but I'm not convinced. Honestly, I'm not convinced.
So, but are you convinced? So let me ask you this, Cliff. Here it is, letter 202. Stanley and I have agreed on our policy: art or cash. Very profitable terms, or complete veto rights.
Well, this was a developmental idea that came up when people started sniffing around, offering offers.
So let me ask you that. So let me ask you this.
Was in his mind when he was writing the first few chapters of The Lord of the Rings.
Right. It's in writing that he had it. He had it in his mind. Give me a bunch of money, or I will not give you creative control. You cannot change a thing. Right.
And
veto
I respect
rights.
that. I fully respect that.
So my question to you, Cliff: did the Tolkien estate hold true to Tolkien's letter when they did the deal with Amazon?
I wish I knew more about the details of their deal. And then I would be more assertive in saying something about that. But there's still something that I find, it's just like an unsatisfied rumor to me. We really have not seen the contract. We don't know how much of a veto power the family has, except we've been reporting on it. We have very, very frequently reported on this, that the Tolkien family has the power to look at some of the scripts that Amazon Studios is handing them, and they have some power to say, no, that content violates the basic structures of Arda and the content of that world, so you can't quite do that.
But now Amazon paid a record, the most money ever spent on any rights to anything ever. Amazon paid the Tolkien family $250 million just for the rights and just for television. Didn't include film rights or anything like that, and didn't include remake rights. So it sounds like Amazon, reading this quote, it sounds like the Tolkien family did hold true to Tolkien's wishes and say, give me a bunch of money.
Right. Well,
Does this make you, does this quote make you more nervous, knowing that the Tolkien family, if they adhered to JRR's wishes here, they asked for a bunch of money, they got a bunch of money. So the liberty is on Amazon now.
Okay, perhaps so. Perhaps one day, a long, long time from now, after the show has been out and has been on the air, maybe somebody somewhere will leak that paperwork so we can actually look at the terms of what that bloody contract language states. Now, not 10, 15 minutes ago, we were talking about the ugly contracts and negotiations that go into getting a single title card credit for someone. Imagine what the negotiations were like behind the scenes for the Tolkien estate to say, we're going to have some stopgap thing, some kind of a measure here where we're going to have control to stop you from producing that content, that script, if we don't like it. That last process of approval, whatever it is, I'm very skeptical. Just file me under, a little skeptical about it. I want to know the details because I'm tired.
But even without knowing the details,
let me finish. I'm tired of reporting on it like I know for sure. I'm not for sure, and I'm tired of sounding like I'm on this live stream talking to the entire world of Tolkien fans, and I'm saying, "Oh yeah, I can confidently say that the Tolkien estate has veto power." I don't know the language of that contract yet. I would like to be more assertive in the information. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we can infer that
Oh,
paying $250 million dollars just for the rights and just for television and very limited rights, that much money for that much rights, for that little rights, and knowing that this show is like 20 pages of the appendices. Again, this is the book Amazon sent me. Look how few pages they are adapting versus what's in. Look at how few pages they're adapting. So $250 million for the rights to this, I can safely assert that
okay.
that Tolkien took the cash. Tolkien took the cash. The Tolkien estate took the cash here.
Yeah, I get it. I would say Alex in the YouTube chat has said that Amazon will still want to be in the good graces with the estate if the Silmarillion ever becomes available. Interesting concept. And Otaku Senpai is very observant and says, I think that Jeff Bezos purchased a lot of grace. Well, yeah, that's true. Money talks.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so speaking of rights and sales and everything, Cliff, a brouhaha is brewing, as Variety is reporting that Warner Brothers is pushing back on Saul Zaentz being able to sell the film rights. As we reported a couple of weeks ago, Saul Zaentz company, doing business as Middle Earth Enterprises. We should all be familiar with Middle Earth Enterprises because their name is at the bottom of every piece of merch you have. I'm sure if you go to everything in your collectibles cabinet, you will find under license by Middle Earth Enterprises or the Saul Zaentz company.
Or you'll see the initials SZC, which is Saul Zaentz Company. SCZ.
Or MEE, Middle Earth Enterprises. So 2 weeks ago...
Or Middle Earth Enterprises or SCSZC. I can't even do it right. It's terrible. Anyways.
Right.
But
so
yes.
So 2 weeks ago, Saul Zaentz basically said, Warner Brothers hasn't made a movie in 10 years. We're returning the rights. We're taking back the film rights and we're putting them up for sale. Starting bid, $3 billion.
Oh, Lord. Wow.
So Warner Brothers is pushing back now, and according to Variety, is saying, hey, hold up, chill. We still can make movies here because we have Rohirrim anime in production right now. That's a real movie. There's real people working on it. We've got multiple versions of the script. We've got Philippa Boyens and her daughter are writing the script. We've got the showrunners from The Dark Crystal. We've got the director from Ghost in the Shell. Like there's a lot of like this is a real project that's really like how we Warner Brothers is saying, hold on, you can't sell this yet. So this is going to be the next big legal battle because there are very few people that have $3 billion to bid or more to bid on the film rights of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Cliff, should Jeff Bezos do the deal and just wrap everything up in a nice little bow under Amazon?
No, not necessarily. I don't know about that. I have ambivalence. That's me being polite. That is me being very reluctant to say everything out front. I'm just kind of ambivalent about Amazon Studios picking up more of those rights because right now the Rings of Power television series is yet an untested and unproven commodity. Yet unproven, although time will tell soon enough.
Elvin in the chat room says this isn't just a brouhaha, it's a bree henny brinny hooey ha ha. That's right. And if Michael Jackson was here, he'd probably go hee hee.
Stop.
So, so a little bit of dream dragging gossip.
You have advocated this, that Amazon should have everything under one umbrella. I've heard you say that before, and I can understand why. Because you're looking for centralization or a central focus on the intellectual property so that it doesn't just get scattered to a lot of different artists who will have very, very, very different approaches to it. But I understand, but I'm not looking for that kind of homogeny or homogenization in one studio having all rights to all of the intellectual property. I'm really keen on the idea that, Tolkien professor Corey Olson has also said this on Twitter and on his live stream. I'm intrigued by the concept of other hands, other artists and other hands. And if the adaptations are very, very different from one another and unique, then we get to be the beneficiaries of that.
Well,
the fandom, we're going to be the beneficiaries of getting other artists to give us very different and interesting, fresh. Every fresh approach is a new, fresh approach. And that, in and of itself, is going to give value to how we regard the original. The original text and our love of the original books is going to be regarded because we'll look at these new adaptations like Corey Olson said, we'll have a fresh pair of eyes that will allow us to see things that we didn't see before, or things we were taking for granted in the original. We'll now look and see that.
That does not reconcile with what you and I have talked about earlier. How Middle Earth has been uniquely a singular vision. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, is the only author of his books. His son Christopher is the only author of the book. It's been a Tolkien game for 80 years. And then when it comes to the movies, it's been a singular visionary director, Peter Jackson, all the way through. There's something about this IP, this franchise. Do you think it has benefited from having singular visions? Because now you're saying, let's give more people more opportunities to not respect the lore.
I think that you may have missed entirely what I was trying to say, Justin, and I do not agree at all with what you just asserted. I think you may have missed entirely my point. Let me try to rephrase this for you, or for the audience. I'm in agreement with Tolkien professor Corey Olson, who has stated on his live show and on his Twitter that having a good adaptation and even a bad adaptation of a beloved something will give value. If it is a bad adaptation, it will allow you to appreciate the original work in whole new ways and look at things that you were taking for granted before. If it's a great adaptation of a familiar work, then that is a benefit to you as well, because you get this interesting new set of hands and set of interpretive eyes on the original. But it still doesn't take away from the existence of the original. It just enhances it in new ways because you're looking at things through fresh eyes.
So all press is good press. You're saying all press is good press.
What harm is there in somebody like the Rankin and Bass Animation Company making an adaptation of The Return of the King that they did for television, broadcast as a television film, right after United Artists screwed over Ralph Bakshi? And we're talking about very, very different animation creators.
Okay, I agree.
Arthur Rankin Jr.
We got two different animation studios.
Very different approaches, and Ralph Bakshi did not get to make his movie complete his movie set, so somebody else came in with another adaptation.
But I gotta hand it to Leonardo in the chat room saying there's never one vision of Middle Earth, because you have to look at Ted Naismith, Elena Kukanava, Donato Giancola, John Howe, Alan Lee. They all have their own perspectives.
The big West End musical, the big London stage musical of The Lord of the Rings. It was not successful. It was not a commercially appreciated adaptation, but it was big budget. It was huge. It had lots of talented people, and it barely struck a blip on the radar because people were looking at it and they're like, meh, they kind of sniffed at it. And it still brought another level of appreciation of the original Lord of the Rings, and people stopping and thinking, my gosh, it's that hard to adapt into a stage musical as much as it is hard to adapt it to a 3-picture trilogy. It gives us a lot of different artistic expressions and perspectives that lets us have a pull and push with our own relationship with the books. That's really what Corey Olsen was saying. In my mind, that's how I interpret it, and that's where I'm kind of comfortable sitting. Now, the worst thing that Amazon Studios could do to Rings of Power is to make it painfully pedestrian. What if it's just, it's just really.
What if it's Riverdale and Rivendell?
What if the Rings of Power is not really, really, really excellent, top tier, and it's not really garbage, bottom of the barrel, excrement? What if it's really just pedestrian and it's just a,
Wheel of Time.
It's just a little fantasy show, and people are looking at it and they go, well, then that would be a crime that they spent such an ambitious effort and so much money and brought so many complications into the people and the artists and the people in New Zealand that thought they were going to get the benefit of the production, and everything's back and forth and it's all chaos now. And why would we as a fandom need to go through all of that, and all those people involved in the production need to go through all of that just for a middle of the road pedestrian television show? That would be a real crime.
So how does making sure the rights the film rights don't end up at Amazon, how does that solve what your concerns are?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I'm just saying that I prefer the idea of New Line Cinema / Warner Brothers putting out competing Lord of the Rings adaptation stuff, War of the Rohirrim, competing with the new video games and the new TV series that the streaming giant is going to have. I kind of like that dynamism, don't you?
I do feel it offers an opportunity to stay competitive. Yeah. Because if one of the seasons from Amazon is kind of weak, but there's strong movies, people are gonna. So the Green Dragon gossip is the Saul Zaentz company has already received a very valuable bid for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit rights, and that includes movies, video games, merchandise, theme parks, everything. The rights to Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, the rights that Tolkien himself signed in his own pen, that's what's for sale. And
Indeed.
the first bidder that it has come in very competitively, that does not have a major IP franchise of its own, Universal Studios. Universal has come in with the first opening bid that is said to be very competitive, and it includes a dedicated Lord of the Rings theme park rights in Florida.
Universal.
Well,
Studios.
no, Universal is a studio. Universal has made all of those monster movies. It has a Fast and the Furious franchise. Universal Studios, they have the Jurassic Park franchise.
Of course.
They have a bunch of stuff. So, but this would be establishing Universal as a 20th century franchise IP player in modern Hollywood. They don't necessarily have. Warner Brothers bought DC Comics. Disney bought Disney bought Marvel Comics. So there's all this IP just sitting there. So we're hearing that Universal Studios has not only just said here's a bunch of money and we'll do a theme park. They might have already designed attractions. They've basically told the Saul Zaentz company, the day that this contract is signed, we're already in construction and we're already in production and we're already doing stuff. We're doing spin-offs, we're doing new movies, we're doing whatever we want.
Wow. Okay.
So Cliff, would you like to see Universal Studios come in and fully exploit Lord of the Rings and give you the theme park of your dreams and extra movies and cartoons and animated TV shows, or no TV shows, just movies? Or do you want to see Jeff Bezos come in, Daddy Warbucks, and just consolidate the rights?
No, I'm not so keen on either of those options, really. I'm not really have a I don't have a burning desire for either of those options, to be honest.
That's the world we're entering.
I
Cliff.
know. Look, we are, like I have said to the audience, and I've said it on my own social media, that I personally feel like I'm at the intersection of a very big commercial product and a very old literary legacy. And it's kind of weird. It is kind of a strange place to be, because I understand and I can observe and report on all the powerful forces that are moving the needle in different directions. It is a strange and interesting place to be in this moment of popular culture, where big decisions are being made in closed door meeting rooms and boardrooms without us fans even knowing what the hell is going on. It's just a strange place to be. I am not that keen on a big, wild, oversized Middle-earth amusement park as much as I'm keen on the literary legacy being fairly represented, and having some longevity. I'm more interested in the longevity of the literary legacy, and I'd like to observe on how the pop culture aspects of that kind of give it a boost. There's a big boost in the book sales when Peter Jackson puts out
right, but that's not what's for sale. That's not what we're. That's not what. The literary legacy is that exclusively of the Tolkien estate and its publisher HarperCollins. You know, owned by Rupert Murdoch. So that is safe, and it's carried
the American
on.
Publishers Houghton Mifflin. Yes.
Well, no. Well, Mifflin was bought by. Was bought. Like, it's all one company now. The UK and the US publisher are now owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's all one company.
Oh dear. All right. Well, you know what? It's inevitable. The other thing that I have to say, Justin, is I'm no dummy, and I understand it is inevitable. It is going to happen that Jeff Bezos or Universal Studios or an amalgam deal between one studio and another is going to purchase the rights, and they're going to start pulling things out of their creative hat to do more video games and more theme parks, and probably even down the line there might be other weird things like like installations in different cities.
Right, they could do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. I can tell you that my dream scenario in this is not Jeff Bezos and it's not Universal. My dream scenario in this purchase opportunity is Peter Jackson using his fresh new $2 billion from selling Weta and partnering with the government of New Zealand.
Yes.
And let the country of New Zealand own the rights, the filming rights to Lord of the Rings for now and for all time, and let Peter Jackson and his production company manage the rights and play in the metaverse and do digital things and maybe make more movies with some of his friends in the film biz. I think the smart move as a fan, imagine if the country of New Zealand owned all of the IP rights to everything that we call it already. Like they could, like the tourism opportunity. So I think Peter Jackson and the country of New Zealand should partner up and just buy the rights and make New Zealand forever Middle Earth. Moving on. Cliff, you talked about, we've been talking about the movie and the TV rights, but you talked about the literary legacy. Well, big news this week. Two things. First, Joel Mariner is a PhD Tolkien scholar.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about Joel Mariner. Yes. Yes.
Well, I was just gonna say he has announced that Joel Mariner, one of the great follows on Twitter. You have to follow him because all he does is post artwork. Well, guess what? He has turned his Twitter feed into an actual collegiate course with Corey, the Tolkien professor's Signum University. And starting next year, he will be teaching a course in Tolkien Illustrated, Picturing the Legendarium. I believe signups Early stage signups are right now. Signum University is all virtual. We've had Corey Olson on the podcast many times, friend of the show. So it is all virtual. There's no classroom to go to. You can attend these courses anywhere. And Corey is in the process of being accredited as a legit place that can offer doctorate degrees. He's already got state approval. He's got state recognition as an education facility, and now there's just one more hurdle. So by 2023, there is a chance that you can get your doctorate, your PhD in Tolkien scholarship through Signum University.
That is so cool. It's brilliant. I'm really excited about that development. Do you know why? Because when we're talking about furthering our academic understanding of Tolkien, that's what really makes me happy. And there's no theme park on Earth, no matter how thrilling and exciting that it would be, there's no theme park on Earth that's going to do what Signum University is doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's no point in debating film and television and video games versus scholarship of the books. They're completely separate tracks managed by completely separate types of people. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, as exciting as it is to like maybe get a theme park, or maybe New Zealand turns into whatever, it's like, if you want to just stay in the books, boy, is it an exciting time to be alive right now. And Joel Mariner is one of the top Tolkien scholars out there. This is a master's level course in art history.
I'm telling you, a lot of really good discussion and a lot of comprehensive understanding is going to come to those of us who participate in Joel Mariner's coursework. Because looking at the way that other painters and illustrators and artists for decades and decades, how much they have influenced our understanding of Tolkien. I mean,
and fantasy in general, and like defining fantasy.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are visually conversant in fantasy because of the efforts of all of those painters and illustrators who came before. And that is why we have a collective psyche about what sword and sorcery looks like, because of those artists. And a lot of the arguments, the unnecessary arguments that some people in the fandom have been having about the way characters look, or the way Middle-earth characters are supposed to look, is because we have been fed a visual diet for decades about the way Middle-earth looks from these artists. And I think we would learn a lot about where we sit right now with our current modern understanding by taking Joel's course and learning about the way our visual ideas have been formed and shaped over so many decades by these other amazing, talented painters. I think it's a really fabulous thing for us to have this. It's so good.
So sign up for, I believe you can sign up for early interest in Joel Mariner's
sign up right now.
Signum University thing, and just sign up for interest right now, because I believe one of the ways that Corey Olson runs Signum University is they put up a bunch of potential classes, and they want to see what the interest is, and then before going into your master's level education. So that's exciting. Right. Cliff, the other big announcement, our friends Marquette University has announced
the Tolkien archives that were donated by Professor Tolkien. They're held at Marquette University. In case
right there in Illinois, right? Or Indiana?
Marquette University, I believe, is in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, maybe?
Yeah, they're just outside of the Milwaukee metro area, I believe.
Oh, maybe. So Marquette University announced this fall, a major Tolkien exhibition featuring Carl Hostetter, the author of the latest book from J.R.R. Tolkien, The Nature of Middle-earth. The editor of that is Carl Hostetter. Holly Ordway, and of course John Garth is the author, friend of the show. He's been on the show a couple times. John Garth is the author of many of the most well-respected Tolkien books. Let's take a look at the schedule. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Art of the Manuscript. It's a Tolkien lecture series at Marquette University. September 22nd That's a nice day. September 22nd, Carl Hastetter will present editing the Tolkienian manuscript. I'm telling you, these talks are so valuable. I don't know if it's going to be live streamed. I don't expect it to. I think this is only in person. So, get your shots, get your boosters. But Carl Hastetter has seen more of Tolkien's notes and writings than anybody has ever seen.
Indeed.
He is the only man that the estate, Christopher Tolkien, had trusted to edit the father, J.R.R. So this is a huge get. Thursday, September 22nd. You can get exhibition tickets are available now.
Just in time for Bilbo and Frodo's birthday, September 22nd.
That's right. Thursday, October 13th, Holly Ordway will present Tolkien's Faith and the Foundations of Middle-earth. This will be of significant topic to a lot of people that were negative on Dome Korakowski's Tolkien movie. So this is an interesting thing. And then Thursday, November 17th, which is a wonderful week, John Garth will present Whispering Leaves, how Tolkien's manuscripts reveal the secrets of his creativity. This is huge. John Garth has written a couple books now on Tolkien's influences from his real life. He has the best insight. And Cliff, this is a huge get from Marquette University, don't you think?
Sure is. I would love to be there. This is something I would sign up for. John Garth is awesome, and so is Carl, Mr. Hostetter, and to have these two big brainwaves at Marquette University for these classes or symposiums, whatever they're called. I'm totally down for that.
Oh, I'm just reading this website right now. It says all lectures will be held at the Museum of Art and will be followed by a Q&A period. The lectures will be streamed for audiences that wish to attend virtually. Due to limited capacity. Advanced reservations will be required for the virtual panel. So, folks, sign up now. Sign up now for Marquette University's J.R.R. Tolkien, The Art of the Manuscript. This is a huge get. You'll want to follow Marquette University because that is where Tolkien's writing desk is. Cliff, you've actually sat at Tolkien's desk. You saw the coffee stains.
Yep, coffee stain, no tea. They were tea stains on Professor Tolkien's desk. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. There is an aura. There's a strange vibration or an aura emanating from Tolkien's desk. It is powerful. It's amazing to be there. It is, to me, like a piece of history that I couldn't have imagined I'd be close enough to touch. It's remarkable.
It's remarkable. Hey, before we go, Cliff, let's do a quick game of Lordle of the Rings.
Oh, we're going to do a quick Wordle?
Lordle.
Oh, it's called a Lordle. Oh, gosh.
All right, so what's your opening word?
The opening word for Lordle. All right, let's see. I would put in one that uses, how about A-R-I-S-E, arise. Let's start with that.
And go grab your book,
Okay.
the Thesaurus of Middle-earth.
Be back in 2 seconds.
All right, arise. All right, folks, you see it there. Arise. While Cliff is gone, you guys get to choose our next guess. It looks like R and I are in the correct place. S is a correct letter, but in the wrong place. Where do we put the S? Folks, rings? No, it can't be rings, because it would be string. Guys, we're playing Lordle of the Rings. Demosthenes, you're in the chat. Longtime staffer, first time caller. Come on, let's give me a word, folks. Come on, chat. Try price. It won't be price because there needs to be an S in there. The S is yellow. That means we have to use an S. S at the end. So, Prices? Pricks? No. That don't work. Nope, that's not it. Oh, tries? No, there's no E. Look, the E is blank. Taylor wants to know how to play this. All right, the way you play Lordle of the Rings, it's like that big old other thing that rhymes with Lordle. The green letters are in the right place. The yellow letter is correct, but in the wrong place. And the gray letters are wrong. So the gray letters are not there.
We know for sure that the vowels A and E do not appear in this word. And the letters R and I are in the exact correct position. And the letter S has to be somewhere else in this word.
Someone said fries, but again, that includes an E, and we know there's no E. Trips. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, T-R-I-P-S.
All right, who said trips? Monica?
Monica said trips. Let's look and see where the word trips.
No, it said no. Not in list of the Wordle. Tries? No, there's no E.
So it's not trips?
No. It's Fritz?
Wait. Did you actually put in the word T-R-I-P-S and get a response from it?
Yeah, what is this saying? It says T-R-I-P-S. Not in word list. Lordle of the Rings 67.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. I'm looking this up.
Why you guys keep saying fries? It can't be fries.
Do you know
e.
what's interesting? The word trip with the letter S as in the verb form of trips is not in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God, it's not in your book. It's not in your book. This is
there is the regular verb trip and the past tense tripped. T-R-I-P-P-E-D. Tripped. But there's
all right, Taylor is in. I believe this is Taylor's first time playing this game. He says wrist.
W-R-I-S-T.
And that is wrong. No W, no T. S is in the wrong place.
Whoa.
Drips.
So what?
Who says drips? Alex says drips. Are we good with drips?
It might be D-R-I, but definitely the S had to be moved. So that was a mistake, again, to do that.
Drips is not in Lord of the Rings. Thank you very much. That is not. Drips is not in there. It is not strip. The R and the I are in the correct place, folks. Come on. It's not strip. Guys.
So it can't be
the
drips.
R and the I are in the right place.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay, hold on.
So, sorry, Taylor. Grips? Someone said grips. Okay. G-R-I-P-S. Do you like grips?
Go for it.
Not in Lord of the Rings. Wow. Tolkien chose his words.
Okay.
We already tried drips. It is not in Lord of the Rings. Folks, come on. No grips, no drips, no trips. No trips. Cliff, show people the book that you're using.
This is the Tolkien Thesaurus by the legendary and much-loved Tolkien scholar Richard Blackwelder. And within this is a listing of every word and every occurrence of any word in the Lord of the Rings with a page reference of where it is. So,
hey, two great questions. I'll let Cliff decide. Do you want to do grits or grins?
Hold on. Let me look up. Should I cheat?
Don't cheat. Just what do you feel? Grits or grins?
I have seen the word grins many times. So I would go with N-S. G-R-I-N-S. Try that.
There it is!
We won!
Congratulations!
We won. Grins. That's it.
Was that Lady Nico? Lady, wait, hold on. Let me go back up. I believe Lady Nico from the Discord is the first one. Yeah, Lady Nico, congratulations. Cliff, you've got the book. Let's look up, where does grins occur in Lord of the Rings?
Right next to Grand. No, I'm kidding. It's obviously right next to Grand. Grin and Grand. It's right here. Okay, let's take a quick look. It might occur in multiple places within the story. Okay, Gladden Fields, Goatleaf, Goodman, Great Tower.
It's 2:37 in the morning for Lady
Greenish.
Nico, coming in clutch with grins for the win. Lordle
Super
in
awesome.
3. Lordle
Here it
in
is.
3.
Grin. The farmer looked closely, changing from a scowl to a grin. Well, that's single. That's grin without the S. Where is grin with the S? Nob trotted off with a grin and a wink. That's in Fellowship of the Ring. Grinning. I don't see where it's listed.
Grim grinning ghosts? Grim grinning ghosts?
Grinning ghosts about to socialize. No, I don't see where grins is listed. I do not see it. I don't know exactly
Peregrine's failure?
No, it's a separate word. There's grinning, the grinning gates of Minas Morgul and the haunted mountains. So there's grinning with an adjective form. The tower still grinned across the valley. That's in Two Towers. Grin and grinning. No, I don't know. I don't see it, but it's got to be in there somewhere. But grins. There you go.
Grins.
Grins. That was it.
Well, that was a fun little Lordle of the Rings. Shout out to Lady Nico staying up till 3 in the morning almost and getting that right. Congrats to everybody. Now that you know how to play, we're going to try to play this. We'll try to remember to play this every week if we have time. So, Cliff, this has been a wonderful conversation, catching everybody up on the latest news on Tolkien. So we covered... What did we cover? We covered that there's new Tolkien scholarship. There's an event happening at Marquette University. There's a new course to sign up at Signum University about Tolkien art. We learned that the Saul Zaentz Company and Warner Brothers are fighting for the rights to the movies and the theme parks. And how will that shake out? Another lawsuit around that stuff. Yeah. So, do you know what else
we have? There's another event that is coming up. It already started at the Huntington Gardens and Library here in Southern California. It's actually just near South Pasadena, the Huntington. You look it up, and they're having a whole exhibit called Mapping Fiction, a wonderful exhibit about different maps that are used by other authors and sources to create maps of history and secondary worlds. So Mapping Fiction is at the library, West Hall at Huntington Gardens, and it runs all the way through May 2nd, all the way through March, April, May, until May 2nd. And I cannot wait to get down there and check out the Tolkien manuscripts that's on display. One of his
They have legit manuscripts?
Maps. Yeah, they've got hand-drawn Tolkien maps as part of this exhibit. So look it up online, the Huntington Gardens and Library. So
it looks like they have the map of Treasure Island. They have the map from the Journey of the Center of the Earth.
Yep.
Maps from Homer's The Odyssey. Yeah, they have a ton of maps. But so Tolkien's own hand-drawn maps are on display in Los Angeles.
There's even the Raymond Chandler mystery map of Los Angeles. Oh, so cool. If you're a Raymond Chandler noir mystery fan, I love that stuff. So,
thank you to Wheatbix in our Discord. Again, join on Discord. The link should be in the description. If you don't see, just go to discord.gg/the1ring or just search for the One Ring when you're on Discord. Wheatbix finds this quote. Cliff, here we go. There was some murmuring, but also some grins on the faces of the men looking on. The sight of their captain sitting on the ground and eye to eye with a young hobbit, legs well apart, bristling with wrath, was one beyond their experience.
That's fantastic. That is wonderfully fantastic. Where is that? That sounds like I would know exactly where in the book that is. That is so cool.
Guys, he's asking, where is it?
Where is that? Is that from the Two Towers?
Let me read it again. There was some murmuring, but also some grins on the faces of the men looking on. The sight of their captain sitting on the ground and eye to eye with a young hobbit.
Nice.
That is Faramir's men. Wait, no, it is, Faramir's men in the cave behind the waterfall. So this is Faramir talking to the recently captured Frodo and Gollum and Sam.
Indeed. Murmuring. Murmuring. Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. I think that is the coolest.
Dr. Nosey says it's also in Sam's song.
Oh, nice. Oh, that is so perfect. I'm glad that I found somebody who knows about those missing details that are not in this thesaurus. That is super cool. Murmuring and grins.
Well,
that's so cool. Super good.
There you go. We got our Lordle on the third try. Thank you, everybody. That was a great little game. Thank you for finding those. You know what, Cliff? That thesaurus needs to be updated.
Perhaps,
maybe you can reach out to the author and the publisher and maybe do a little update of your own.
He has long since shed this mortal coil. I'm sorry that Mr. Blackwelder is no longer with us, but an updated edition. Well, there's a guy doing the digital Tolkien project. He's going to have a digital online version of the thesaurus with a reference to.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
He was trying.
Every single word and every occurrence of every word in the Lord.
There was a student that was trying to do something, but as you all saw from the Tolkien Estate FAQ that we poured over last week, the Tolkien Estate shut him down real quick.
Dear.
Cliff, hold up that book while I remind people that the One Ring will be at WonderCon in just a couple weeks, the 1st of April. It's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of April. We'll be at WonderCon Anaheim. If you're planning to venture out your front door and re-enter the world of conventions, we have 2 amazing panels with the Women of Middle-earth and an update on all things Tolkien, which regular viewers of this show, I'm sure you'll have most of the information. But those that joined us at San Diego last year got a real sneak peek surprise at things we weren't supposed to show, and who knows what will happen at WonderCon. So April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, tickets are now on sale for WonderCon Anaheim. We hope to see you there because it's our first convention of the year, and it's the first convention since all the mandates have been lifted. So we're really excited to see your beautiful faces and see all your cosplay and
me too. It's going to be a real exciting time, and it's just a month away, just less than a month away. So come and join us in Anaheim at WonderCon.
And if you want to see Mithrandir anytime, you can call him up on our Discord. Go to search for the One Ring on Discord, and you can find our Discord. When you join, and after you post one thing, you can type :Mithrandir : and you will see Cliff's cat.
I thought
in
it was
our
Cliff's
Discord.
cat.
They changed it.
They changed it to Mithrandir?
Yeah.
Come here, dude. Come here. He's here talking to me right now because he's looking for dinner.
Hey, Cliff. If we added, remember Balrog wings, like serving Balrog wings? Like, what does your cat do that we should add? Like, kitty cat, Mithrandir welcomes you?
Mithrandir welcomes you? Yeah, that's awesome. Come here. You could make could feed him some kibble, how about #feed myth? And we'll get a picture of him having some kibble or something. That'd be fun. He wants to get fed right
That's
now.
his nick. That's his nick. ! Feed myth, and you can set out some kibble for Cliff's cat.
You mean this guy? You mean this guy right here?
That's it. By the way, did Tolkien name him Mithrandir because he loved myths?
No, that's the word for gray pilgrim, gray wanderer. Mithrandir. All right, there's a place on the map. It's called Mythland,
Mythland.
And that's because MITH is the word gray in Elvish and,
Oh
Randir.
boy,
Yeah,
great.
Myth Randir. So
I hear
his
the
great,
salted
they're
pork
bad.
is particularly good. Hey, if someone's watching, we need to add BAM pork and have that quote come up. I hear the salted pork is particularly
It's
good.
particularly good. Yeah, well, somebody's ready for his kibble and salted pork, so I better get to it. So,
All right, thank you everybody for joining us. Torn Tuesday is live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. We thank you for watching. We thank you for sharing. We thank you for joining our Torn Discord. Thank you for getting the Lordle correct in 3 tries and then finding where that word is used. This is just, I love this community so much.
it's
Cliff.
cool. That's very cool. Take us out? Let's take us out then. Thank you again to Varking Rune Song for making a little emoji of my cat. That's just the coolest thing that could ever possibly happen. And thank you again to our faithful audience, our worldwide audience, chilling and relaxing with us and talking about, so many things just within the world of Tolkien and how so many things outside of Tolkien are influencing the next stages of our fandom and the next wave of popular culture as it washes over us. Get ready, everybody, because it's going to be an interesting, fun ride. Thank you again for being with us on Tuesday afternoon for this live chat. And Justin, you're the best for getting all the plugs and the electronics to work properly. Thank you for helping us out with everything, dude. You're the best. Big shout out, big round of applause for Justin because he makes this show happen and puts everything together and makes it work. So it's really fantastic. So, and hey, look at that. Julia, I'm really, really glad to have you with us. All of you folks here in the live chat, all you people on YouTube, Discord, Facebook, and Instagram, and everywhere else in between, a pleasure. Join us again next Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time so we can have a little more mischief and a little more fun exploring the words and the worlds of J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the OneRing.net, your one-stop shop, your one-stop community for all the good stuff. Join us on our message boards and on our fledgling Discord, which has great energy, really good people coming together. We'll look forward to seeing you all there.
And we love you, Twitch, too. Don't forget Twitch.
Oh, of course, Twitch. Twitch, the best. Now, there's a lot of good stuff yet to come, and thank you for being with us as we journey together. So until next week, good night and good luck, or as I often say, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Did you see Ismail's new profile icon?